freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, Cheryl Todd here from Gun for Freedom Radio. I am excited to catch up with my friend Bill Romanelli.
Hello.
I think this is many years running that we've had this opportunity.
Become a tradition. I can't have a SHOT Show without talking to my friend Cheryl.
And let's never do that, right?
Okay.
Never have a SHOT Show that we don't get to talk to each other.
Sold.
And we are sitting in Las Vegas, fabulous Las Vegas, in January of 2020 as we have this conversation. And there's always something exciting going on with the NSSF, and that is the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Bill is a spokesperson for this wonderful organization that puts on this teeny tiny little thing every year called the SHOT Show.
A little gathering.
Probably never even heard of it, but it is the premier firearms industry gathering, meeting of people and organizations, and it's just a wonderful chance to get together and chat. And I know you're probably running on fumes right by now, but
like I said earlier, look into my eyes.
the exhaustion is setting in.
It's the toll I take on myself after the show ends and for each day that I think is doing the most damage.
No, right? Because
we'll
it just keeps on. The parties go, and
That's
the
right.
chances to meet and greet people.
Yeah.
And so each year when we've sat down and talked, and I'm looking at some of these dates that go back, the National Shooting Sports Foundation have been very involved and very instrumental in trying to put together programs that are truly usable.
Yes.
And to help keep communities safe,
Yes.
keep people safe. And this year as we sit down, you're going to talk to us about kind of this idea that you're combining them all. Can you talk to us about what that initiative is called and
Sure.
what it really means?
Yeah, in the past we've talked about Project ChildSafe, which is actually just one of several programs that the industry has going on. And so last year we collaborated with NSSF and decided it's time to take all the programs that NSSF is doing that help fight crime, help keep guns out of the hands of criminals, improve the background check system, and we can talk about that in a little bit more in depth. And then keep kids safe, keep guns out of the wrong hands, and even address suicide prevention. We put them all under one banner we call Real Solutions for Safer Communities. And that's because these are solutions that have been time tested, they've got measurable results, and they're programs that all gun owners can get behind for safer communities.
Absolutely. And so the first one you mentioned, Project ChildSafe, this is going back, like I said, this is the year 2020.
Yep.
That was initiated in 1999.
Yep, we're just wrapping
Last
up our
century.
20th year celebration for Project ChildSafe. Yep.
And so what is that initiative and where does it meet the road with the public?
Project ChildSafe specifically? That is the program where we do a couple of things. That's the one where we make a lot of information available. You know, it's nationwide. So, of course, through the website, probably one of the best tools, and a lot of social media. But we just make information available about gun safety in general, with a real emphasis on storing guns responsibly when they're not in use. But there's also information there on safe handling, transportation, you know, guns and vehicles and things like that. And then hand in hand with that, kind of the cornerstone of the program is we provide free gun locks for law enforcement agencies all across the country to give out in their communities. So it's not just talking about safety, it's like here's something you can do as soon as you get home to make your home and therefore your neighborhood, your community that much safer.
Absolutely. And so if I'm Joe or Jane Public listening right now, I would be able to go to your website.
Yeah, the Project ChildSafe website, which is just projectchildsafe.org. And then there's a button on there that says Find a Safety Kit. Click on that, click on your state, and then it'll have a list of the cities where we have partners. And just contact that local law enforcement agency and say you'd like to get a lock. If there's not a partner listed in your city, then we encourage people to reach out to your local law enforcement and say, you guys need to get on board with this program. It costs the law enforcement agencies nothing. I mean, we even ship them on our own dime. So.
Exactly. And it's a true service to the community.
Yes, it really is.
So haven't heard of a law enforcement agency yet that was like, no, that's not really our thing.
Yeah,
right.
Me either.
Protecting and serving the community.
Talking to a lot of law enforcement, nobody says, nah, we're not.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing. We want to do that. And then the next year, in the year 2000, there was the Don't Lie for the Other Guy. Now that's more for people that have gun shops, like my husband and I do.
Yes.
And talk to us about that program.
That is a program that does a couple of things, really. It's a partnership with the ATF, first of all, and through that we just get the word out about what the consequences are if you try to do what's called a straw purchase, which is basically buying a gun for somebody who's not supposed to have one. And we've been doing the work on that for, again, just about 20 years to really get education out there that this is a real crime that comes with real penalties, and we're trying to cut down on those straw sales. And when you look at kind of the arrest records over time, you're definitely seeing, the needle moving on that. So no one would say one program is making all of the difference, but certainly as part of a collection of efforts to make sure that we're cutting down on these straw purchases, it's definitely having an impact.
For sure. And, there's so many different gun shop owners and FFL holders, federal firearms licensees, out there that, all different states, all different kinds of neighborhoods that they're in, that sort of thing. And, some of them, this Don't Lie for the Other Guy, this straw purchase thing, it's a daily event that they have to interact with and be very well informed about.
Right. And there's a real, drive behind them. I mean, obviously they want to do the right thing. The last thing they ever want to do is put the gun in the hands of a criminal. But, think of it also from just a straight business perspective. Oftentimes the media will demonize gun shops and gun stores, but let's look at the reality here. These are people that want to stay in business. This is their livelihood and their revenue. They want to stay on the side of the law. They want to be in compliant with all the regulations and things like that. And they do not want to be putting guns in the wrong hands. It's just, it sounds a little bit crass. It's just frankly bad for business. And if this is something that you rely on for your income, it's not a mistake you're going to make.
Absolutely. It's a great program. We've used it. We've set you have some counter mats and that sort of thing. And so it's right there, not only to remind the staff, right, to be really tuned into, does this feel right? Does this sale feel right? But also to the customer, it's right there in front of them that they're being told, don't you lie for the other guy, because this store is tapped in and they're going to be watching for that. And I think a lot of times that just solves its own problem. They know that is not the place.
And you touched on something that's worth emphasizing there, in that no gun store anywhere is ever obligated to sell anybody a gun.
Yes.
And so while there are certain things, and it's part of the Don't Lie program, the NSSF actually offers trainings on things to look for that, are red flags for a potential straw purchase. But at the end of the day, if your gut tells you this doesn't feel right, you don't have to sell that person a gun.
Exactly.
You just don't.
Yeah. We have on occasion had to go with that idea. I'll tell a little private story that there was a lady that got so upset that we wouldn't sell her a gun that she wanted to call the police and tell them that we wouldn't sell her a gun.
And how'd that go for her?
Right, it didn't go very well for her, and God bless her, but the thing was that the police were on the side of, they're a private business, they're free to do what they want, and truly, ma'am, they're trying to just keep you and the community safe. And that did de-escalate it, and she understood, but it was just one of those funny moments that comes along when you're a firearms dealer.
Right.
Now the Fix Nicks, that came along in 2013.
Right.
And there are people out there that are in the 2A community that might feel like, wait a minute, what do you mean this Fix Nicks thing? And you're trying to make it harder for us to sell guns, or maybe the public is like, you're trying to put more of my personal information in the hands of the government, or something like that. But how would you say that the Fix Nicks program is really, what is it really about?
I'm glad you asked, because it is a little bit of an area of contention until you kind of present people with what the actual story is. And NICS, as everybody knows, is the National Instant Criminal Check System, and that's basically the background check system. And we're not trying to make it harder for anybody to purchase a weapon or even sell a weapon if they're legally able to do so. What this is you hear a lot of talk about, we need more background checks, we need better background checks. Well, the reality is that the background check system is only as good as the records are in it. Now, we're not advocating for any kind of new information going there. What we're advocating for is for states to be compliant with what the federal government requires them to put into the background check system.
Because different states interact with it differently.
That's right. And so,
just standardize it.
That's right. And so the Fix Nicks effort was basically a state-by-state effort to get states to be compliant with what the federal law required them to submit to the background check system. There are unfortunately more than a couple of examples of people who have gone on and created tragedies using a firearm, who got that firearm quote unquote legally, but if their data had been in the background check system, data that was required to be there, that had been in there, they would have never been able to purchase and get their hands on that gun. And so that effort has been going on for a number of years. To date, 16 states have adopted some kind of fixed niche legislation to ensure that they are being compliant with what the record requirements are. The federal government passed something just a couple of years ago in similar scope to kind of codify that in law. And as a result, I think the last number I saw, there's been a 240% increase in the number of records going into the system. So we're just doing better background checks. So it's not about more personal information. Again, this is information that has to be in there if you want to buy a firearm anyway. And it's not about making it harder. It's actually making it easier for gun sellers to make sure that when they sell a gun to a person, they're not putting it in the hands of somebody who shouldn't have one.
Sure. Okay. I like that. So then in 2016, the National Shooting Sports Foundation stepped into the realm of talking about suicide prevention.
Yes.
And the reason behind that is because the people that really want to negatively impact our rights, right? The rights restrictors, we call them on this show, they love to use the stats of deaths,
gun deaths,
right? That where a firearm was involved. And more than half of those deaths are self-inflicted, purposeful suicides.
Yeah, 60%.
60%.
Yeah.
And so, where they want to say, well, this is gun violence. Well, suicide is a different category. It's a different causal situation. And so the NSSF is like, you know what, let's not just turn a blind eye to that.
That's right.
Let's do something instrumental to try to get ahead of that and try to help people that need the help before they get to that step where they take their life in that way.
That's right. And it's important to say, I think, up front that, no one in NSSF would ask anybody to believe that we are at all experts on suicide or suicide prevention. And there are many factors that go into whether or not somebody commits suicide. But as you were saying, because so many suicide attempts involve a firearm, and by vast majority, suicide attempts that are successful involve a firearm, the industry did say, as you pointed out, it's like, there's something we can probably do to try and have an impact on this. And so they partnered in 2016 with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and put out some joint materials. And it really comes down to a couple of things. Again, we're not asking gun dealers or even the gun owning community itself to be experts on suicide, but here are some tips on what to look for in somebody. Here are some signs that might be warning signs. And it encourages people to actually have what they call that brave conversation, to talk to somebody who might be at risk and get them talking about it. Because nobody wants to lose a friend. Nobody wants to, let somebody borrow a gun only to find out that's what they're planning to do with it or something like that. So, yeah, it's been an important program. It's one that, the AFSP, the Suicide Prevention, has a goal to reduce suicides by firearms by, I think, 20% by 2025. And they think programs like, our relationship with them is just one component of that, but these conversations and the steps we're taking, they think are going to make huge strides towards that.
Absolutely. And then in 2017, we have Operation Secure Store. What is that program?
That one kind of goes hand in hand with don't mind for the other guy a little bit, but basically it's a program that, again, we're partnering with the ATF, and the NSSF makes consultants available to go into a gun store, or even as one's being planned and built, and give them essentially an audit of their security and say, here's where you could step things up and how you can improve security. It also includes that training I was talking about, how to recognize if somebody's casing your store or if somebody's looking at making a straw sale. So we were actually just out at a store in Texas a couple of months ago. It's a store being built and being opened for the first time. And so even while the store was in construction, our consultant was able to go out there and give them some suggestions on how to reinforce the doors and things like that. And just little things that, again, we don't want to give away the whole plan here, so the bad guys can go around it. But, with any criminal, they're going to go the easy path. And if your gun store just has a few deterrents in place, they're going to pass your gun store and look for an easier target.
Absolutely.
And that's the goal of that program.
Well, I love that, overall, this Real Solutions, Safer Communities initiative, I see you touching directly to the public. I see you helping those of us that are in the business of firearms. I see you, being a bridge between firearms dealers and the federal ATF authorities. And I really think that you're on the right path, because those are the conversations that are happening in the real world.
That's right.
And you guys have taken a very proactive step in engaging those.
I think it's important to know that it is the firearms industry that is trying desperately to get beyond the hyperbole of the gun debate, because there are extremes on both sides, and I think for too long the argument has been about those extremes and what can't be done. Let's take a look at what's working, what's actually having an impact, and how can we make those programs even better and stronger and more effective.
That's fantastic. And just as we wrap up, so the NSSF itself, you guys do several things throughout the year. Of course, the SHOT Show is like the big one.
It's the Super Bowl.
It is the Super Bowl. It is a week-long event where you do have the showroom floor with all the manufacturers and the dealers and the distributors and all of that. But then we also, it is a meeting place for people in the industry of all different sorts.
Yes.
Celebrities of sort, people that are actually, the boots on the ground, the worker bees in the store, the retail stores across the nation, brand new manufacturers that are just getting started. You don't have to be like a Smith & Wesson to participate.
That's right.
You've really purposed to serve everyone under this one roof. But then throughout the year, you also do other things. One of my favorite is like the Industry Business Summit.
Yes,
And that is for people that are, store owners. I'm also in media because of the radio show, but my husband and I do have the store. What are some of the other things that you guys do throughout the year?
Sure. Well, kind of hand in hand with that event, there's something that they do around the country, at specific dates they call it SHOT Show University, but it's basically, think of it like a compliance seminar for gun store owners. It's going to give them the information on the newest laws in their state, the newest regulations, requirements, of course, staying compliant with ATF and things like that. That's certainly one of the biggies that we hope folks take advantage of. But there's also, the programs called First Shots for, people who are, dedicated. It's focused on youth and learning how to, safely handle and use firearms for sports, various sports and things like that. And I mean, there's scholarship programs. It's amazing how much work the NSSF as an entity is doing.
It's true. There's an event that I had not gotten to go to yet, but I think it's called the CMO. It's a Chief Marketing Officer University or Summit, or I want to go to that so bad each year, and it just falls on the wrong date for me. But it's just a wonderful umbrella of events and programs that you guys have put together. And just this year, you have had a change in leadership.
Yes.
So Steve Sinetti, our good friend Steve Sinetti, has finally passed the baton. The gavel, yes.
Pick your artifact, yes.
Yes.
Yes, so, yes, the new president and CEO is Joe Bartozzi, who actually has a very long background in the firearms industry. He was chief counsel for one of the major firearms manufacturers before he came to NSSF. And so I've had the pleasure of working with him on a number of projects already. He is so passionate about this role, and he works incredibly hard to try and fill what he'll be the first to tell you are some big shoes, but there's no question in my mind the association is in very good hands.
And the transition was so smooth that you don't even really hear about it.
That's right.
Which I think is
that's
a
how you
huge,
get it right.
Exactly, it's a huge credit to how the two gentlemen interacted with each other, and then the organization really trusts Steve to pass that gavel, baton, torch to Joe. But thank you so much for your time, Bill.
Thank you. Being able to reach out to your audience and kind of share this information, gun owners, I think, as a collection of people, need to know not only what the industry is doing to protect their rights, but what the industry is actually doing to address some of the criticisms that you hear about in the media and things like that. We're not sitting idly by doing nothing. We have been working on this for decades in some cases, and we want to make sure people know about it.
So true. So people wanting to know more about the NSSF, whether they're the public or whether they're a business like myself and maybe want to have a membership with the NSSF, what's the best place for them to go for that?
The hub of it all is just going to be the NSSF website, which is nssf.org. And if they want to learn more about the Real Solutions program, that's just nssfrealsolutions.org. And we've got a podcast on there, and we've got all kinds of resources and videos and shareable content, and it's a good treasure trove for what the industry really has been working on.
Fantastic. Couldn't be simpler than that. nssf.org. Bill Romanelli.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, gang, stick around. There's always lots more coming up on Gun Freedom Radio.